Dr. Tim Keller is founder and pastor of New York's Redeemer Presbyterian Church. He is also the New York Times best-selling author of The Reason for God.
Word ministry and deed ministry go hand in hand. In fact, I think that if one side outpaces the other, it all falls apart. If your church strictly does evangelism and just does not care about the needs of your city, people are going to look at that. Outside people are going to look at that and say, all they care about is increasing their tribe. They'll see evangelism just as recruitment and an effort to accrue power. On the other hand, if you only do deed ministry, which is also, in a sense, easier without word ministry because nobody's going to object to you helping the poor. But when you try to bring them together, they actually interact with each other, they stimulate each other. It's harder to keep the two together, I think. The world doesn't like evangelism. On the other hand, I do think there's a lot of Christians that find deed ministry expensive, distracting from word ministry. Integrating the two is very necessary. It's not that easy to do. Word and deed ministry integrate best at the one-on-one level. If you are reaching out to a neighbor and you're trying to talk to them about Christ, maybe bringing them to church, and yet they've got any kind of personal needs. They've got one family member finds themselves in jail. They're struggling financially. Just to be involved with those folks as a Christian friend means you're going to be bringing word and deed ministry together. So at the individual level and at the relational level, you can see why the two things just go together. You can't love your friend without talking about Jesus, and you can't love your friend without babysitting for her so she can go visit her son, in jail and so on. It's only when we get up to the big, massive level of institutions trying to do massive projects that I think it gets harder to keep the two together. But you'll see that God clearly wants them together at that one-on-one level. I would love to put up on a board, if I was talking to some people and I was trying to help them in word ministry, I'd put up on a board a set of what I would call lay ministry behaviors, which is a little abstract, but lay ministry means word ministry done by lay people, not pastors, not professional Christian workers. And I would start at a very, very simple level. I'd say the very first lay ministry behavior is you let other people know you go to church. Just let them know you go to church. Say something to your colleagues, say something to your neighbor. Do you do that? See, if you don't do that, then you can't do anything else. And that's a pretty simple thing. But it's actually pretty important because sometimes you say, I'm going to church to 4 people, and one of them later on asks you about it. Then the next would be a behavior like you simply let people know that you're a Christian and it means something to you. Maybe a passing thing, saying, well, let's just say you're a woman, you've been angry at your husband, you're sharing with another woman who's been angry at her husband, and you say, my Christian faith has really helped me here. Just passing. That's it. Let it go. If she picks it up and says, really, how? Good. If she doesn't, fine. But see, first of all, there are a lot of behaviors like letting people know you're a Christian, letting people know that Christianity means something to you, letting people know you go to church, that you should be doing, and they will lead in a very organic way to more extensive, more in-depth kinds of discussions. But you should be doing the simplest behaviors first. Loving people, caring for people, being a person of integrity, letting people know your Christian faith is there, saying these kinds of things, and then it'll just bubble up naturally. I think most of us feel like if I'm going to do word ministry and I'm a lay person, I need to find a way to get the whole gospel out in one conversation or get into a debate about creation and evolution or something like that. That's not the way to go. Be simple. There is no one way to share the gospel. You have to learn how to share the gospel differently with different people. Confidence in the gospel comes through 2 kinds of personal experience, I think. I don't care who you are. The gospel has to, you have to see breakthroughs through belief in the gospel in your own life for you to get confidence. The second thing you need to do is you need to see it through your own ministry. You need to see a couple people who just, that they would never have made it. The marriage wouldn't have made it. They never would have gotten out a life of incarceration. They never would have overcome this or that except for the gospel. You need to see some people, as well as need to see yourself, experiencing breakthroughs for the gospel. Then you know there's nothing more important than preaching it and ministering it. But you have to have some personal acquaintance yourself with the power of the gospel.